Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you, Amanda?
We are good. Thank you everyone for joining. I am here with Bryce and Kenzie from the BK Pets. We are so excited to have you on this evening and talk about all the things. Hi, Cam. Um, yeah, so let's get to it. First of all, if you are joining us this evening, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook, please comment with the hashtag the more you know. We are going to do some giveaways today at the end of our live. For starters, we're going to be giving away this book. You might have heard about it, The Forever Dog Life. It just came out this week. We're going to be raffling off one of those, as well as y'all's book, The Modern Dog Parrot. So super excited about the two, and we're going to talk about this. So comment hashtag the more you know. Bryce and Kinsey, would you like to tell me who you guys are and what you guys do?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Amanda, thank you so much for having us on. We are honored and beyond excited for your event next month. So
So
we cannot
excited.
wait to see you and everyone else.
Yeah.
Um, where should we start? Well, Kinsey and I met in college. We were both doing a social media internship for the University of Wyoming Athletics Department. So we were basically the social media team down on the field and the court, getting the in-game footage and posting it to social media platforms. So we very much, our relationship was born in content creation.
Yeah.
um, from there, we got married in 2020, and then funny enough, we got into resin pet tags. So, you take the resin, you mix it together, you pour your color in, you pour it in the mold, and you make your tag, right? And we were
That's
selling
awesome.
those on Etsy back in 2020. We were probably selling 2 to 3 a week,
Yeah.
I would say. And we put out one video that is basically, where the resin collar, or excuse me, the resin tag connects to the collar. There's a little loop there. Well,
Mm-hmm.
ours kept breaking because resin is plastic, and we have very rambunctious dogs. So we put a little metal ring in there before we poured the resin in to kind of reinforce that. We put out a video of that. It was like a 10-second video. It gets 7 million views over 6 days.
Whoa.
We did $10,000 in sales of these little $10 pet tags. And the following Monday, this was on a Tuesday, we both put in our 2 week notice at work to quit our jobs and
That's
make
insane.
resin pet
I love
tags
that for
full
you
time.
guys.
We
That's
got
so
permission
awesome.
from my therapist.
Yeah, there was an adult in our life that was like, go for it. And we were like, that's all we needed. So from there, we were basically just making resin pet tags out of our basement apartment for about 4 months. And then
hmm
we ended up opening a retail store across the street from our house. We got into, canine enrichment and lick mats and supplements and started selling a bunch of other stuff.
Had no idea what we were doing.
No idea. I mean, we were
Neither did
two
I when I first opened. It's
yeah, two
okay.
years out of college, no idea what we were doing. And then from there, we basically hired too many people. We ran out of money. We had to fire everyone and close down the business. And so that was definitely one of the harder things that we've done. But I think that really catapulted us into being content creators full time. Because from there, we were basically like, okay, instead of selling these products themselves, let's just work with the brands to promote the products that we believe in, and then we can do that without actually having to ship them and label and do all that
Because we were
stuff.
mostly e-commerce, like we had a little bit of a local base, but it was really we were already making the content trying to sell the products. And one day I was taking a lick mat out of a box and putting it into a box that we had to buy to send it to somebody else, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, this is crazy. I have no idea how to run inventory. I don't know how to, like, there's no rule book on these things or any guidance really. And we tried to get some guidance from some small business help, and they were just not very helpful. So we sold everything and tried to live nomadically and just make content.
Yep. And then ran out of money, had to live with her mom for about 6 months, and then finally content creation started to yeah, we started to work out all the kinks and stuff, and we were able to
Mhm.
do that full time. And so now we've been doing this, I would say, on our own for almost 2 years now.
It's funny though that we're coming up and doing this event with Rodney and Karen, and because we had this shop and we were getting into supplements and enrichment, and it was, like really changing our minds and opening our eyes. And our shop was across the street from our house, and I was in the bathtub at our house, and Bryce comes barreling in from the shop. He goes, we have to change everything. I just listened to a podcast with this woman, Dr. Karen Becker, and we have to change everything. We have to change our content. We have to change our dog's feeding. So the next day we drive from Laramie, Wyoming to Denver,
which is like 2.5 hours,
to pick up raw food and just start this.
That's
and
awesome.
Yep, and then from then on, the rest is history, and here we
Yeah.
are now.
And from there, we really just started sharing our journey and sharing the things that we learned with people. And I think it really resonated that people could see another set of regular pet parents going through this journey of trying to improve their pet's health. And yeah, like Kenzie said, that's kind of how we got to where we are today.
That's awesome. I mean, I totally understand where you guys are coming from. I was fresh out of high school and I opened up the store, and I was 20. And so we're coming up
Wow.
on like almost 18 years. The difference is content creation is way different now. They're like, Facebook was so new when I first like started. It doesn't seem like 18 years ago was that long ago, but in the social media and the internet world, it really is. And I so feel the being broke. I had this teeny tiny little store and I had a dog and I loved her and I wanted to sell these like cute collars and things. Like, I look back when it was like the dumbest stuff ever that I wanted. But, I loved my dog. And here we are 18 years later. She had a ton of issues. And, I started learning, and raw food was the first thing I ever started selling in the store in terms of food. But yeah, I get the being broke. I always say that I was so naive that it didn't really have to work out because I was so naive.
Right.
And I was able to be that like broke person and like live my journey. So glad you guys figured out like what you wanted to do, where you are now, and you stuck with it, and here you are. And I've done the same. And yeah, both of us in different ways are changing lives. I have a storefront. You guys do content creation. And I just have to say, and I was talking with Jay and Adrian from the Two Crazy Cat Ladies last week on a live, and you guys got brought up. And I have to say, in terms of like what you guys have done for the younger demographic is quite amazing. That when I have high schoolers who work for me and they're like, well, we know who the BK Pets are. They're on TikTok, and you're teaching the younger, kids and the younger adults, like how to not make the same mistakes that I made and other people made. And I just think that's really great and really admirable. And kudos to you guys. So
that means a lot to us. We really appreciate that. And I think, I really have to give a shout out to the younger generations, because as much content as we make, they're hungry for this stuff. They're losing all trust in big corporations and big government. And they're realizing that we have to get back to grassroots stuff and growing our own food and get back to sourcing. And so,
and I don't even know if they know it, but they provide a sense of accountability to us.
They do.
To like, there's always temptations, and it's like, well, it'd be so much easier to just succumb. We would never like give into the big kibble, but there's always that in the back of your mind. You're like, is this worth it? Are we making a difference? And they hold us accountable. Like our community, they're like, why are you promoting that? Why would you, or where have you been? Why aren't you doing this? And we're like, okay, you guys rock, and we're going to keep doing this.
Yep.
Well, you have to believe in what you also do. And yes, things are easier sometimes to do it. And, and I think that's where, we're going to talk about how to, feed your pets and boost things and make things better. And it doesn't always have to be this like complicated, beautiful, like piece of artwork. I mean, some days mine is, I'm going to throw some raw food or some freeze dried in a bowl and here you go. And other days I spend an extra 15 minutes adding all these things. And I have 11 animals. So feeding time at my house is really crazy. I am that like crazy animal person who has a hard time saying no to something coming in my house. So here we are with 11 animals that are all raw fed and, get all these, but it doesn't have to be complicated. I would like to bring up, and you guys did mention it already, but you guys are our guest for the morning coffee talk the day after the More You Know Summit, and along with Jay and Adrian from Two Crazy Cat Ladies. And boy, it's going to be a party. We're going to have mimosas and coffee. And, as big as the summit is and how much fun that is going to be, and we get to hear from, amazing people, Dr. Becker and Rodney Bibb, Angela Ardolino, and Billy Hookman, like, the event you guys are going to be at the next day is like, it's going to be super fun and casual, and it's just going to be like a little mini party, and I can't wait for that. So,
and that's exactly our brand. We
Yeah,
always
that's our
say
vibe for
we're not
sure.
really trying to put ourselves up there as these big experts in anything. We're gonna learn from the experts, like the ones you were just talking about, and we'll help you figure out how to take that information and implement it into your day-to-day life.
yeah, let's
So
make
yes,
it
much
easy
more
and
casual.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we feel
Yeah.
kind of like the bridge too. Like we're the where you dip your toes in, and then once you start getting comfortable, we're like, did you know about all of these people? So for the
Exactly.
people that are like really looking to deep dive, we feel like that's kind of our job, is to lift them up, expose them to more people once we can kind of help people get their toes wet.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about your book. So you've got this book.
Yep.
In case you haven't heard about it, everyone, we have copies of it at the store. You can also find it online, and or ask your local pet retailer to pick it up if they haven't yet. One of my coworkers got a copy of this book when we attended an event in Charlottesville at Natural Pet Essentials, and she gave everyone copies of the book. And my employee reported back and was like, "That is such an easy read, and it just makes so much sense. It's sciencey, but it's not too super sciencey." And I think for, like you said, for people, just beginning, it's an easy, like, oh, that makes sense. And I totally get it. So
Yeah. Thank you
one
for
of the
that.
it's easy. I mean, I feel like I know a lot of things, but even just looking at it, it's kind of like, oh, what's not as difficult? And it's such a good, I wouldn't say beginner's guide, but it is kind of a beginner's guide,
Yeah, and that's what we were going for.
Mhm.
We kind of knew that we weren't going to be able to really bring anything new to the industry because we're so new as is, and we're not the experts like these other people are. But what we really wanted to say was, okay, how can we gather as much good information as possible and throw that into a step-by-step guide to just get started? Regardless of
Right.
where you're at. If you want to feed full DIY raw, if you literally can only add water to your food, we wanted to create something that was a resource to all of those people.
Mhm.
Yes. So something I want to point out that is in the book that you said, and this is not word for word in the book, but I'm going to pop this up here. It's the very, very beginning of the book if you get it. And as a store owner, it just resonates with me so much. It says that you may come across information that conflicts with your current approach to caring for your dog. This is not intended to criticize you, but to provide you with new info that you may not have been aware of before. I don't know how better, like, you guys could have said that. People come in all the store all the time, and we talk to them about food, and they almost were like, we're not coming at you. We're not telling you what you're doing is wrong, but it is our job to, you know, give you this information, and you do what you want with that information. And
Right.
that's kind of how the whole summit came about, which is why it's called The More You Know. I mean, the more things you learn, the better you can do. And do you want to like speak to that and like why you put that in there? But I love that quote in there. It was just, yeah, great. Love
Thank you
it.
so much. That is very much the precipice of what we do is we never want to shame or judge or criticize anyone for what they're doing because we all have so many reasons for what we do. We all are shaped by each individual unique experience we have throughout our lives. And so how can we say we have the universal truth that everyone should have? All we want to do is bring you what we think is the best information, and if that resonates with you, great. But I think that we have such a deep responsibility when we adopt or when we buy these pets and we start to care for them. And so to have somebody say, hey, what you're doing could potentially be harming your dog, that can be a real hit to everything we know to be true and the truth that we
Mhm.
hold within
Well,
ourselves.
and nobody, I mean, I'm going to say nobody because I hope that's the case. Nobody wants to willingly do harm to a being that they love. Like, no parent willingly wants to do that to a human child, an animal child. And I've always just like, it's corny and cheesy, but like, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, you know?
Well, and like
Like,
in the pet industry, Amanda, I'm sure you know this, the two ends of the spectrums can really be pretty volatile. You have the
Very.
conventional side that only believes the conventional route, and they're going to judge you if you're feeding anything on the natural or holistic side, and you have the exact same thing on the other side. So we just feel like the industry needs a lot more softness, and pet parents need a lot more softness so that people can go on this journey without being scared of what others are going to say about it. And we just want to create a community where there's only support here. Regardless of what you're going through, all there is here is support.
And we do get some criticism. I mean, obviously from both sides. We operate off of a good, better, best system because we're always going to say, like, adding water to your kibble is better than just kibble on its own. We really want to meet people where they're at. Like, I grew up with in a lower income family, and it just doesn't inherently mean you're bad or you're not trying or you're not good enough. So we want to have tips that make everyone feel empowered to take their pet's health into their own hands.
Right.
And so I don't know, I just think that there is this consensus in our culture that not knowing automatically equals you're bad, and we just don't want to foster that anymore. It's like, it's okay to not know things. It's okay to get curious, and it's not an attack on who you are or what you have done, because it's easy to spiral. Like, we've all had pets that we had before we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And
Remember when Kenzie said I barreled through the door? We were feeding Purina Pro Plan that night.
I said you can do that.
Yes, we all do better when we know better.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And I went down the rabbit hole because she was doing so poorly. And and I started reading and I started learning, and I was like, oh shit, I am like gonna kill my dog over here. And I don't want anyone to ever like come into my store or read your book and say, oh my God, I hate myself for what I'm doing.
Yes,
I'm doing it. No, you're not. Like, you loving your dog means, or your cat means so much, but you can do more. And regardless of, your income, basically, everyone deserves to have a pet, and you don't have to be wealthy to have a pet. Everyone deserves to have one. Some people can afford to do more. With that said, we all have table scraps that are good table scraps. We all do, I mean, I'm that person who goes to the grocery store and like buys all this healthy food because I'm going to cook it. And then I don't cook it because I don't want it. And it gets, a lot of times it gets thrown away, right? Like, I'm not the only one who does that. Your dog will eat wilted spinach if it's ground up in some broth. You might, but your dog will. So, there's so many things that you can take away from, adding more. And that's what I love about the book. And would you kind of go through the book and like where the steps are? I mean, I'm backtracking here, but one of the things that I noticed in the book that I loved is you mentioned how if you yourself go to the doctor and they ask you what you're eating every day and you say, I'm eating all these fresh foods, they don't look at you like you're crazy and say it's going to make your dog sick or make you sick. Like, good for you. So glad. Stop eating processed foods. I have little kids. I go to the pediatrician and she's like, are they eating their vegetables? Are they eating this? Like, yes, they are. They like their junk food, but they eat this. That's just a normal conversation. But gosh, when we go to a conventional vet, and I love my vet is a rock star and he's the best. He's a conventional vet. And so not all vets are the same, but you get this, you go in and you say, I'm feeding this. And like, well, you're going to kill your dog.
Yeah. And that's the kind of shame and judgment that we just don't need anymore, No. And I think that regardless of what you believe, because when you get into this holistic side, you can go far. You can get into the spiritual, the energetics, a lot of things that modern science might call pseudoscience. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, don't we know that animals, and we're all animals, humans included, thrive on a whole food, fresh diet versus highly processed foods? Because you'll hear even the most conventional human doctors say, you got to eat the rainbow. You got to eat fresh fruits and vegetables and proteins and all that stuff. There's no health and wellness professionals advocating for a highly processed diet for the entirety of an animal's life outside of veterinarians. And I also want to say, I don't personally think it's veterinarians' fault, because I don't believe a veterinarian goes to school for 8 years, comes out $300,000 in debt, is making $80,000 a year just to intentionally harm animals or keep them sick. No. I think we live in a system where that's what they're being taught in school. And we don't have any schools really teaching the benefits of fresh food like maybe some of the human, at least nutrition schools are probably teaching.
Because there's no science.
Exactly. There's no science to back it up, apparently.
There's no science.
Well, and I think there's a lot of intention for this ecosystem to be this way. So again, it's not their fault. The more you know, well, you don't know what you don't know. And they're
Very true.
purposely not given this information.
Yep.
No, my vet one time showed me his schooling book, and I won't name names, but you can imagine it's by one of those big companies, and that is
Grab that for me,
literally their school. Oh, you can share it.
I can share it. I never mind sharing it.
Nope.
For those of you that don't know, this is Small Animal Clinical Nutrition, the 5th edition. This is one of the big textbooks that they are teaching out of in vet schools. And so, let me find the page. Contributors. We always say follow the money, right? If you look at the contributors, and I mean all contributors, you will see that Hill's Pet Nutrition, Hill's Pet Nutrition, Hill's Pet Nutrition, Hill's Pet Nutrition. These kibble companies are quite literally funding vet school to get teaching time in front of young, impressionable vets. So how do we expect them to come out and recommend anything other than what these kibble companies are teaching them?
And I have, for anyone local, if you come to the store, and you guys will see it when you come in July, I have a giant poster in my store of all the vet schools and who funds them.
I would love to see that.
And it's right in here,
That's awesome.
And of that, and who owns these companies too, Palmolive, Colgate, and Mars, and
I mean, because at the end of the day,
sold,
do we really want our dogs eating all of their food from the same companies that make M&Ms? Like, that to me just doesn't resonate. If you want to have some candy on occasion from them, yeah, great. But like, I don't want the bulk of my food to come from a candy company.
No, definitely not. So yeah, so I love that, like, for the book, and it just shows everything from the simplest of things to if you want to just go all in and make your own food, you can go for it. Hi, Jessica Fisher's in the house. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Welcome. And she misses you.
Oh, I miss you too.
But hey, you guys are going to see each other in like a month. So
yes.
Yay, it's gonna be quite the party. And for everyone who is joining us and is new, please make sure you comment hashtag the more you know so we can win some things. All right, now I didn't mention, you guys are on a tour. You're on a book tour yourself.
Yes, we are.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? Because that's super exciting for you guys. I didn't realize that was in the cards when you wrote the book, right?
Yeah, no, we did not initially plan on that, and I don't know if we would do it again because we are just exhausted. I will say, if we were to do it again, and what we should have done in hindsight was said, hey, we're thinking about maybe doing a book tour. Let's do 2 or 3 stops this year. Instead, we were like, okay, we want to do a book tour. Let's do a 10-month, multi-city, across-the-country book tour. So we're definitely tired, but we are having a great time connecting with our community. And it's
just honored and humbled.
Yeah, absolutely. We always say it's, we kind of make videos at home and you just put them out into the ether of the internet. And, you get comments back and forth and stuff, but I don't think you really understand the people you're impacting until you see them face to face and until you see the tears running down their face and the stories that they're telling. So that has been probably one of the most rewarding parts of any of this, and the reason that we do it. So this month we're heading to the Pacific Northwest for the last couple of weeks. We'll be in Oregon and Washington. Next month we'll obviously be in Virginia, and then
which is not part of our book tour.
Right, that's obviously the nautical dog event. August we're gonna be at Super
Zoo. We will
Zoo,
have books though.
Yeah, it'll be like it'll
you
be
can sign
similar.
them, so it's like a mini. Yeah,
it'll be similar.
Yeah. Okay.
And then August, of course, is Super Zoo. We're also going to do a book tour event there. September, we have our big event in Chicago. And then October, we'll obviously be at the Feed Real Summit in San Diego.
That's awesome. Yeah,
quite the
No wonder you guys are tired.
Yes.
Yep, we've been going since February.
And we're about halfway through.
Yeah, like 10 days at a time. And I'm just an introverted girl, and I didn't really realize it.
I think a lot of times, with content creation, a lot of times, at least I'm speaking for the people that I know that are content creators, are truly introverts. So it is different, like getting out in front of people. And as much as I talk to people daily too, I also like to kind of retreat back. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, we seem very outgoing online, but it's just us two going like this the whole time. There's not an audience
Right.
or anyone or anything like that.
Right.
So, yeah, when we
It's
started
great.
doing this book tour, we were like, oh, it's different to be out and about 24/7 instead of just making videos at home.
Well, and the biggest part is I don't like being away from my dogs for 10,
That's-
12 days at a time.
Yeah.
That's
That's a lot.
probably the hardest part.
Absolutely.
You guys have what, 3 dogs, right? Is it 3?
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's hard. I don't go a lot of places for that reason with all of my critters. And
Yeah.
people aren't exactly signing up to pets to 11 animals either.
Right. No kidding.
So big question in terms of if someone comes to you, because we get this on a daily basis here, you're feeding kibble, you're on a budget. What are we doing? What are we doing to make that bowl better? I can't afford raw. What are we doing?
Absolutely. So the first thing I would say is hydrate the food. We're big advocates of hydrating any dry food. And honestly, we even add extra moisture to our raw and gently cooked food.
Mm-hmm.
So any addition of extra moisture you can add into the bowl is always great. Water, bone broth, raw milk, those are going to be kind of our top 3 additions.
Even like making your own bone broth, if you literally have you can get some chicken feet from the store. Most stores have raw or frozen chicken feet. Throw in a little bit of herbs or some carrots, celery, whatever. Simmer that for a while. Even that's a great option too.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned earlier, Amanda, the table scraps. I think table scraps are one of the easiest places to start because just last night we trimmed up a steak before we ate it and could have thrown that meat in the freezer and thrown it on the bowl later. Obviously, we're cutting up stalks of veggies and the butt ends and stuff. And like you said, the dogs don't care what they look like. They don't care what the texture is like. If it's a fresh food and you can even get it blended or something, throw that in the bowl because Rodney and Karen say it all the time. Any addition of fresh food has the potential to add years onto your dog's life.
And then eggs.
Yeah, eggs are great. The price has finally gone back down a little bit, so they're more feasible now. But eggs and raw milk, I think, are 2 of the biggest ones I would recommend in terms of toppers.
Yeah, I'm a huge, raw milk advocate. My dogs, their dogs and cats are all raw fed, but they get raw milk, goat milk added to almost every single meal. And if I don't do that, I do a broth. So they're already getting high moisture and I add more to it. Not to mention, at least in my world, I get a lot of customers who are dogs are picky.
Yeah.
And goat's milk, man, I don't know many dogs that will turn that down. So
Oh, I agree. I'm literally having some raw cow's milk right here, so we're all enjoying it.
Yes. Emily, I see that you just said that you have a very picky dog that is picky about veggies. One trick that if you've got time, if you have like a NutriBullet or something, stick those veggies in a NutriBullet and add the goat milk or bone broth to that, and that's a good way to blend them up, and it kind of hides it.
Absolutely.
Like
Another way if you don't,
you bake with some zucchini or something.
right. Yeah, another way if you don't have access to a blender is to boil them in bone broth and make sure you save the liquid. But we would often take like a carrot stick or like the stalk of broccoli or something, boil it in some bone broth, then freeze it, and you have some kind of bone broth soaked chews that you can give them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea. I've actually never done that before.
Thank
I
you.
might need to try that.
It's fun. They like it a lot. I mean, they'll eat.
Yeah.
Our dogs would not eat just like plain broccoli, but if you soak it in boiling bone broth, they will devour it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's nice when you do have a dog who will eat anything. I have one dog that will literally eat anything, and it's great. But I have others that are pretty picky, so I have to kind of disguise some things. And so I've got lots of tips and tricks for that. What about if you're a raw feeder, gently cooked? What are you guys, other than adding hydrators, what types of things do you guys like to add to bowls to kind of boost that?
Lately, it's been a lot of herb mixtures. So from Solutions, we've been playing with a lot of those different, just today, this afternoon, a storm rolled in and it wasn't her dinner, but we gave Harper the chill out blend of herbs. So kind of dabbling more in herbs with some specific properties for specific things.
Right. Butter has been another big one. We just actually made our own butter from raw milk for the very first time a couple weeks ago.
I'm now a homesteading queen.
Yeah.
So
that's the only thing you got to do to be a homesteader is make your own butter. Butter's a great addition. It's full of a lot of vitamins that are kind of harder to find from other food sources. And then I think one thing that even we've gotten into is, on the kibble side, we want to drop the carbohydrate level. They can get very carby and we want more meat. when you get into the raw feeding side, I think people can really go all the way where they only want to feed raw food. And for those people, I would recommend throw in some dark leafy greens. Throw in some good carbohydrate sources that are not overly starchy, not overly, highly glycemic.
We've been doing the Just Greens from Green Juju lately,
Yeah,
too.
the Just Greens is great, especially dandelion greens, stuff like that. I think those are great additions. And then I would honestly say microgreens are things we've started playing around with a little bit more too. I think a lot of people don't think about feeding their dogs microgreens, but those are stupid nutrient dense.
And they're also more readily available at the grocery store if you don't grow them. I used to only be able to find them at like Whole Foods and things like that, but I'm even starting to see them at like some of the bigger, well-known chain grocery stores that don't have as high-end products. So was the Food Lion last week and they had microgreens. So here we are,
Yep,
I know.
absolutely. Well,
That
and
was
honestly, what I'm about to say might ruffle a few feathers as well, but I'm kind of getting into feeding a small amount of high quality grains. And I kind of can't believe I'm saying that, but like there are a lot of people, even in like traditional Chinese medicine, there's a decent amount of grain use. And my advice is to always, our dogs are carnivores. Doesn't mean they can't have plant matter, but they need most of their nutrients from animal-based protein. But if we're talking, under 5%, I think there's a wide variety of things that we can feed that can be very beneficial for them.
Yeah, my dogs eat, they love oats. I'll make like oatmeal for them. Chia seeds, not that that's really a grain, but it is like more substantial if you soak it in something.
Right.
But
High
yeah,
quality
no,
barley. Yeah.
yeah. And my dogs love raw parts. So, all your organ meats, those have been really great for the kibble customers. We recently just brought in Northwest Naturals. No, sorry, not Northwest Naturals. OC Raw now has organs that come in boxes now and they're frozen and it's just easily accessible. So I think it just depends where you're located. We actually don't have a butcher around here. So that was huge for us. Minnows, sardines. Those have been a really good way to kind of elevate things, and dogs love it. And cats, guys, I took home chicken livers last week. They're so bloody. They were pretty gross. But my cats, who, cats are picky. They're weird. They turn their nose up to a lot of things. Oh man, they thought the chicken livers were like the best thing on the planet. So
that's awesome.
Cats, try those.
I love that. And then I would say maybe one other thing we're really adding on a regular basis is medicinal mushrooms. We are very much believers in preventative medicine, and that's how we're trying to keep all the cancers away, keep the brain function good. So yeah, we rotate between a few different mushroom tinctures.
That's great.
And then
Yes,
even
I
like
love mushrooms.
saute and feeding mushrooms.
Yeah,
I've been
absolutely.
doing that a little bit more too.
Right, because you can feed them as medicine in tinctures, or you can feed them as gut food in actual food form.
Yeah, saute them in some butter.
Exactly.
In your
some raw grass-fed
homemade homesteaded butter.
There you go.
Make some for yourself. Make some for the dogs. Yeah, I love it. I think all of those are just great ideas to just make things better, and we can all do better. And it doesn't have to be this beautiful bowl every single time. I think for you guys as being content creators and myself owning a store, I tend to only post the bowls that are beautiful and pretty and this is what I made, but it does not look like that every day. I can promise you. In the morning time, I've got 2 little kids that I'm trying to get off to daycare and school and 11 animals. I can promise you their bowls are not this extravagant with blueberries, the greens. The morning is a lot more simple, but at nighttime, I spend a little extra time, even if it's just a couple of days a week, doing something extra. I think it's, yeah.
It doesn't have to be all of this all at once, I would say, if you've never done anything, start hydrating their food and maybe do that for a couple weeks and just get the hang of that.
When we went to Denver, the next day after Bryce hearing Dr. Karen Becker talk, we went straight into raw. Obviously, we transitioned into the raw, but our dogs didn't like it at first. Right. And we were so stressed out that we had just spent all this money on this raw food when we didn't have a lot of money to be spending. And it just added stress to us. They could pick up on the stress. So starting slow, I think, is one of our biggest pieces of advice.
Absolutely.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, people come in all the time what's the best I can do or what should I do? And we give you all the tools And I think you guys give all the tools and you pick the things that work best for you. And that's so important. So yeah, kudos on the book. It's great. You guys got some blessings from a lot of well-known vets as well on this book. So I think that's pretty awesome too. I know Dr. Judy is a big fan, and Dr. Billinghurst. So yeah, good job on that.
Thank you. We're very fortunate that they were kind enough to kind of review it and give their endorsement. So we're very appreciative to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. We're going to do some giveaways. For starters, if anyone has any questions, please drop your comments in the questions. And if we've got a moment, we can answer them. If you have not already commented, please comment with the hashtag The More You Know. The first thing that we're going to give away is this book, The Forever Dog Life. If you need a copy of it and you don't win, we have lots of them, or you can find them online. Full transparency, everyone. There is this handy dandy little tool on here that Jane Adrian from Two Cat Ladies told me about that will kind of like spin the wheel of who wins. I have not used this before, so it's either going to work out great or it's going to work out awful. We're going to find out though. So let's see if we can figure this out. We're going to try.
We've got a lot of comments here, so.
Yeah. All right. So the first one is going to be for this book. Let's see if we can make this happen. All right. Let's see. Oh, I think it's doing something.
Watch and everything.
Ooh.
Wow.
I think we're going to find out. Is it showing right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. All right. Look at me. My age is coming out here. Technology. All right. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, this is cool.
Cool. It feels so fancy, you guys. Apple the Golden.
Congratulations.
Oh, yes. You guys have won a copy of the Forever Dog Life. So please shoot me a DM and we will get this out to you guys. All right. Number 2 is going to be for your copy of the book, The Modern Dog Parent by Bryce Kenzie. And let's go. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like we need a drum roll here or something. There we go. Dun, dun, dun.
Kim Davis.
Kim Davis.
Big money, big money. Congratulations.
I love it. This is so fun. Let me stop sharing this screen. There we are. We're back again.
Awesome.
So super fun. I really appreciate you guys coming on here today. If you guys have questions, you guys can follow the BK Pets. They are on the bkpets.com. You can find them on Instagram and on their Facebook and podcast at the BK Petcast. And you guys are also on TikTok. Am I missing anything?
I think that's about it. We're the BK Pets everywhere.
Yeah, and we will see you guys in July. If you guys are here in July, if you come to the summit, make sure you find them. Go say hello, introduce yourselves, take them a pen in your book. They might sign it for you. And they will also be at the morning coffee talk. So thank you guys so much for coming. Love having you guys on, and I cannot wait to see you guys. And it's a little over a month. It's like 33 days. So
yes. Thank you so much,
yeah,
Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you guys.
Great
Have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.